Visions of Greatness is more than a show. It's a journey into the minds and moments that redefine what's possible. I'm Ira Joe Fisher, and this is Visions of Greatness.
Thanks, Ira Joe. And hey, there he is right there. DT, Mr. Donnie Teague. How are you, man?
Not bad, BK. I'm really psyched about today's show. Hey, before we get started, though, we're going to try and make the custom of introducing to our viewers every week something we like to call visions of not so greatness. And I've got one for you today that I think you will enjoy. In one of the month's strongest technical blunders, a self-flying pizza delivery drone meant for suburban Toronto took a wrong turn and somehow traveled over 2,400 miles, landing on the frozen solid tundra of Juneau, Alaska. The company reimbursed the customer and retrieved the rogue pie at a cost of $2,000, vowing to upgrade its navigation software before any further transcontinental deliveries. That's some pizza.
Listen, I've waited that long for pizzas that have been around the corner. Oh my God. Well, that is a vision of not so greatness, but let's talk about our true vision of greatness, who is our guest today. Don and I got the chance to interview Suzyn Waldman, who, if you don't know who that is, you will, because she really is truly a vision of greatness. She is the color commentator on the Yankees, and she's been doing it for, I think, since 2005. And she's truly a groundbreaker. But the funny part is, what was it, Don? Before we started rolling, what did she say about Peter Noon?
Well, she said, when I was invited to do your show, I'll admit I had second thoughts. But then when I looked at your previous guest list and I saw Peter Noon on the list, I said that if Peter Noon will do their show, I'm definitely doing the show.
Well, it was a great interview, and she is absolutely amazing. She was the first woman to call a World Series game on radio in 2009. She was inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame in 2022 and the New York State Broadcasters Hall of Fame in 2016. She's truly broken barrier after barrier for women in sports media, and I could go on and on. But Don, let's roll the tape and play our interview with
Suzyn Waldman.
It's so great to have you. I've listened to you for so many years, and of course, so has Don. So has Don. We all have, and just there's so much to talk about. So, Don, why don't you kick it off?
Well, before I kick it off, I would say you and I have paralleled in our lives because I was around the Yankees for 25 years doing their eyes, but we've never met. And of course, Michael Kay and Steve Lefkowitz and all of those people, we were all friends. So I'm so excited that you're here now because those others are not that important to me. This is more important. So with that being said, I think I sent you a bunch of questions that we wanted to present to you. And I'm going to start with the first one, which is, if you could switch places with another person, who would you switch places with?
See, I always find this very interesting when people ask other people about that. I've never been like that. I have never been like that. I at one point wanted to be Barbara Streisand when I was about 25. But I'll tell you what I would love. Here's a serious answer to that. If I could switch places with my 24-year-old self so that I would do things a little differently. I learned how to do things later in life the correct way. I look back on my other career, and if I had treated that one the way I treated this one, and I think that comes with age and experience. So that's what I'd love to do. Not because I want to be young again, but I would like to have that girl know what this woman knows now. The other thing is that it's okay to, like, when I was a really little girl, and Brian, you probably have no idea who I'm talking about. I wanted to be Sid Charisse. I thought I was going to dance like that and look like that and all that. It's okay when you're a little girl to have wannabe Tenley Albright, who was just at the Olympics at age 90. She was a gold medalist back in 1956 or something like that. And so you want to grow up and be Tenley Albright or Sid Charisse or Esther Williams or Judy Garland. When you're a little girl, that's good because that gives you something to do, but you don't want to be that person. You want to be able to do what they did and get to that place, which is different than wanting to be them.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Well, you know, you have you're not obviously extremely comfortable in front of the microphone and in front of the camera, as we'll talk about some of your history. But um, you know, it's usually you leading the interviews or the announcing and all that sort of stuff. But the times that you've been actually interviewed, like you're being now, um, is there one question that you've never been asked that you wished someone had asked you?
No, I'm not great at being interviewed. I don't really like it.
What? You're
As
doing great right now. Look at this.
I understand, but but I know I'm on camera. But you know what about that, Brian? I think you have to decide at some point, particularly now in this world of social media. I think you've got to be very careful of what you say and who you say it to and how much you want to let in. And I have this discussion with younger broadcasters and ball players all the time. You decide who you want them to see. You decide it. They don't have to, you don't have to tell them everything, but it's like you decide what person you want to be, and that should be your persona. I just think we're in a really scary world right now. So I think the less said, the better. But I think after almost 40 years, I think everybody's covered it pretty much. Pretty much. Now, the only thing nobody ever asked me is if, did you ever do anything with your economics degree? I mean, nobody's even asked that. I mean, it's like I have so many people. Mike Messina had a degree in economics, and the late John Cerruti had a degree in economics, and we used to kid about that, about economics. Like, so what would we do? Would we go? No, we didn't make money in the stock market. No economists make money in the stock market. Why did my mother pay all that money for me to have an economics degree? That's Nobody ever asked me that, so I'll give you that one.
That's
Okay.
funny because I was about to ask that question. Never mind. All right, moving right along. Was there somebody that was a role model to you?
The only role model I had, and this is interesting, Ted Williams, and I'll tell you
Hmm.
why. Because when I was a little girl, I grew up in Boston, as everybody knows, and my grandfather had tickets in the first row behind the Red Sox on deck circle. And in those days, you could reach out and touch the players. That's how close it was. And don't forget, this is the 50s. Where nobody went. They can tell you how many people are in the park. I knew everyone in that park. There was no one in that park ever till 1967. And because of that, you became kind of a family. And I was told, I know that I don't remember saying it, but in early 50s when I was sitting there and Ted Williams had come back from the Korean War, and I said to my grandfather, I said, Papa, who's that man? And he said, why? That's Ted Williams. And I said, because if God is a person, that's what he looks like. And I loved Ted Williams because he took a lot of flack in Boston from the press, and he never went out and went on a bender. He never did anything. All he did was get better. And I remember as a little girl watching him and how he handled things. And I remember him once in batting practice hitting foul balls to right where a reporter was standing, and did it over and over and over. There was just something about him. And then as I got to know him as I was older, um, I knew that he would pay the kids to some of the rookies to go out and hit balls off the wall to him, so he would know where the bounces were all the time. He'd pay a rookie pitcher to go out and pitch to him in the what was used as a bullpen. There weren't bullpens then, but what was used as a bullpen, so that he would know what was coming. There were things that he did that I have kept with me my whole life. It sounds really silly, but it's not. I mean, obviously, he was the best hitter that ever lived. Don't argue with me. He was the best hitter that ever lived. But that's part of it. But it's what he did to get better and to show people that they were not going to get to him. And I don't know how I knew at the age of 10 that I was going to need that, but I did. And that's the person.
It's amazing how like inspiration comes from places you just do not even, you don't even, it just comes out of like something like that. Like you had no idea. And I think that's just amazing. And that kind of takes me to my next question, which I'm going to throw a little curveball here,
Okay.
because I'm really dying to know, like, so I'm a broadcaster in New York City for years and years. He's different from you, not nowhere near your expertise, but in rock radio. But even back then in at a rock radio station, New York City, the female presence was very it was very hard if you were a woman to get to be on the air. It was
Mm-hmm.
just the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to know, I think so many people would love to know, what was it like for you? I mean, you're a groundbreaker. Like what was it like when you first were, being kind of finding
Mm-hmm.
your way into broadcasting as a woman?
Okay. Well, it's pretty awful, actually. And I think the when WFAN went on the air, let me tell you how I got there. Before I had a whole other career. I mean, I had a whole other career, and I was getting older, and I thought, well, this would be cool. I was always around sports, always, and I went to Red Sox games and Celtics games and Harvard football games with my grandfather, and I was just there, and that's the only other thing I ever knew. And I looked around in 1985 or 86 and thinking, I got to find something else to do. And a man named Ken Coleman, who was the voice of the Boston Red Sox, said, you know, I have a friend. He's putting together this all sports thing. He's going to try it in New York. I think it'll work. He's going to meet you. So I went. I knew nothing about radio, nothing about broadcasting. I knew I could talk, and I knew I just and I had taken a 6-week course once at Weiss Barron. You'll remember that name, Brian, if you were around here. There was a commercial school, but they also gave on how to be a journalist. It took 6 weeks. Now you study for 10 years. It took me 6 weeks to learn what I couldn't say or I'd get sued. So that was it. So I knew I always had that, but I got this job, and interesting how I got it. But I got this job, and it went on July 1st, 1987. And don't forget, in those days, uh, no computers, no nothing. You ripped off a thing and you read, and they thought it would be cute because I can be sarcastic a little bit, maybe. And they thought it would be cute if I did updates along with a man named Pete Franklin, who was going to be brought in from cervic thing, but he had a heart attack, so it didn't work out for a while. But I did my first update, and I read it, and I hear from the outside, and his cameras everywhere, and I hear from the outside, um, get that smartass broad with the Boston accent off of my air in prime time. And Jim Lampley was who I was working with, and I stared at him, and he said, "Just keep going, just keep going." It was at that second I thought to myself, and it happened really fast. It's not that I don't know what I'm saying. They don't like a female on here. And I was about to be 40 years old. And to realize that half the world doesn't like you because you're a woman at 40 is really something, is really something. So I wasn't going to, and I was treated really badly, really badly. Um, I would get, never mind the stuff that I would get in the mail from fans and people. And I have discussions with younger girls all the time, which is worse, have it in your hands or read it online. Have it in your hands, I think, is a little worse. Um, I had producers who would take my interviews and tapes and cut them up and play them so that I would look like an idiot. When I go and interview people, when I went and became a beat reporter, I made that job up. I said to the program director, this is 87. We've got people on the air from the Daily News and the Post. They're not going to tell us anything. Give me a microphone. I got a car. I'll go any place you want, and I'll go in there and I'll break stories. So I made that up myself. And I did that, and that seemed to work. But what you find, Brian, is that the worst of it is not the players. The stuff that happened with me and a couple of the players, George Bell and I and Jesse Barfield, are a chapter in a children's book now. But it's not that. I sat in Yankee Stadium for a solid year and nobody talked to me. Um, the people back at the station, as I said, would take my stuff, laugh at it, and just tear it up, and or just do terrible things with it. So I really looked like an idiot. The people that I worked with thought I was taking a job away from a real reporter, and that means male. Um, the other part of this was also why it was really bad. There were two things, and I'm going to get to your statement in a second about women in there. Back then, for example, at WFAN, you had the morning guy, you had the funny guy, you had the encyclopedia guy, you had the play-by-play guy, you had the jokester, and then you have the woman. And we're not all the same. And back then, if you saw another woman walk into that studio, one of you weren't going to be there. And that is just how it was, and it was like that for a long time. I don't think a lot has changed in women in sports. There's more of them, more of us. Yep. The difference is that because there's more, you can have a friend. I never had women friends because someone who walked in the door was going to take my job, or I was going to
There's a
take.
competition. Yeah, there's only one woman
There's
there, and it's
and
either you
and
or
we're
me.
not all alike, you know. Mike and the Mad Dog aren't alike. Imus is not like Mad Dog. Like Russ Salzberg is not like Steve Summers. But there was one woman, and we're just not alike. We do. We all do different things. I had no desire to do what, for example, my friend Ann Lagori did. That is not what I wanted to do. And but it was like it was terrible. So they set you up against each other. So one, you never had any friends, and two, the competition was so great and so fierce that you knew that it wasn't going to really grow into something that it could.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think like today now it seems like there's more women, but there's also so many more streams of where you can get entertainment and sports. So naturally, but like, I just wonder if it was still the way it was where there's three networks and whatever, maybe it's different. Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing: there are more women, right, on television. They're everywhere, right? I'm still the only person who's a full-time broadcaster. I've been there since I've been in the radio booth for the Yankees since 2005. And there's still, Jenny Kavner does the A's. She does only road games, and Jessica Mendoza does some games for the Dodgers. And there's a couple. Beth Mowens does some for the Cubs. I'm still the only one after all this time that has a full time job. Um, what bothers me is how um, a lot of the networks and things they'll have like there's another one, an International Women's Day. I mean, it's like, for God's sake, stop it already. International Women's Day. Or they have an all female broadcast. One of the stations did that. If they're so good, give them the damn job. I mean, it's like, and everybody sits in, you have all these women everywhere talking about they do a game or they do two games. And then it's like someone in the PR department has said, all right, that's enough. Let's go back to the real announcers. Sorry, that's my German Shepherd. That's Margot. She's barking at somebody.
Oh, that brings up another question. What do you like to do in your spare time?
I love my house and my property, and I do a lot of work here, and I garden here, and I have German shepherds. This is my seventh. I love dogs, and I love German shepherds, and I love to, I work. It's not spare time. It's I work like 12 hours a day. Not it's if it's a day game, I'll leave my house at 1:30 in the afternoon. I mean, night game 1:30 in the afternoon, and I'll get home at 1 o'clock in the morning. So there's not a lot of time for that. So when I have a day off, I want to relax, and at this age, I think I deserve it. Yes. So
Absolutely.
I'm very
Absolutely.
I'm very comfortable reading and watching movies and writing and doing stuff like that. I'm very comfortable doing that.
Well, after talking and emoting, it's exhausting as you get older. I know I'm speaking from experience. I'm so tired after. I mean, I can imagine 3 hour ball game. Like you just want to like nobody talk to me. I'm just gonna go in and
Well, that's
relax.
that's the whole thing. It's like whenever because it's performing, and when you're performing, it takes a while to come down. To after that. So it's like I find it very enervating. I'm never tired after a game, but it's a lot. And if there's
Yeah,
an off day, we're usually traveling to another city. So,
yeah.
it's not like you have this oodles of spare time.
So you have achieved incredible success, and I'm so honored to speak with you. Just side note, but if you didn't achieve the success you have now, what would another what another line of work would you
Yeah,
have achieved success?
I smiled when I saw that picture because question is, this is it. I was in Broadway for 15 years. I mean, I wasn't famous, but I was successful. I worked a lot. See this house? I've got 3.5 acres here. I bought this house with Manna La Mancha. I mean, there's always another former MGM movie star that wanted to go play Don Quixote. And so I did it a lot because there were very few women that can do that part and physically hold up. It's a very demanding part vocally and physically, and not a lot of women can do it. There's probably 5 or 6 that have done it over the years. And so this was it. This career was the one that I said, well, what else can I do? Because I was getting older, and I said, I can still do this, but there's a girl that's 20 that can really do it more, and you can't. And when I got to that point in that the mid to late 80s, the music was changing. The advent of Andrew Lloyd Webber changed everything, the way musicals were run and everything. And I said, boy, I got to find myself something else to do with my life, or I'm just going to be playing somebody's mother for the rest of my life and be the queen of revival, which I did not want to do. So this is the career that I did when when I left the other one. So if there's a third one, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll be president. I'm not quite sure. But this is
Did,
good for now.
did you build a windmill at your home for the Man of La Mancha?
No, I did not. No, I did not,
Oh,
because that was a
That's
nice
what I
little
figured.
fairy tale. I don't tilt it. Actually, I guess I did tilt at windmills, didn't I?
that's right.
Except he never
That's right.
got his right. Did yeah.
You achieved what he didn't achieve. That's really
The
good.
impossible.
We
Yes.
we had like these 8 or 9 questions here for you, but this was so much better than our 8 or 9 questions. But the
Because I give such long answers because I babble. So it's
but I love your long answers. They're great. They're great. In fact, I want to cut to the chase. The main question that we ask for all of our guests: what does greatness mean to you?
boy. I think, well, a couple of things. Greatness to me, it doesn't necessarily mean fame or fortune. It means making a difference and making a big difference. If there are a lot of people I know that I would say have achieved greatness and you don't know who they are. The thing that I like about what I have done, and I'm not saying I've achieved greatness, there are 3 generations of little girls who are out there doing this job now because they listen to me with their fathers mostly in the car. And I got 5 or 6 that I can name that are doing minor league baseball. And I've had people come up to me and saying, "You have no idea. I heard this is my favorite story. Years ago, ESPN was there and Jessica Mendoza came over to me and she said, I just want you to know that when I was in high school, I think it was, she said high school, I was driving with my boyfriend, now her husband, and they were driving across country and they were listening to the Yankee game. And she said, I turned to my boyfriend and said, see, there's a woman doing this. I can do this. So that's to me is, I mean, that's what else could you want? I mean, what else could you want that you've made a difference in somebody else's life? And that to me is greatness. I mean, there's the other kind of greatness too. I mean, finding a cure for cancer is certainly greatness. But for the people that are just bringing entertainment and maybe a little bit of joy, the greatness to me is passing something along that no one was allowed to do when I was a little girl. I never thought it. I mean, why would you even think of this? Somebody said to me once, somebody asked me, have, did you always want to do this? I said, well, no, I am a child of the 50s. No, there were no women doing anything. They were skating and they were swimming, but they certainly weren't on television or doing, you just didn't think about it. You just didn't think about it at all. But, you could still be part of it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but there's different categories of greatness. It's getting to the top of whatever you choose and making a difference in somebody else's life, somebody who wouldn't be doing what they're doing or wouldn't have medicine, or wouldn't have place to go to college unless you gave them the money, or you found the cure, or you helped somebody. That to me is greatness, because those things last forever. I mean, you really do. What did Peter Noon want to be if he couldn't have been a rock star and have that
He
blonde
said
hair?
nothing. He was this is his
Yeah.
thing. Nothing else. But I do want to mention one thing about Peter Noon that you will find interesting. We asked who is his greatest role model, and it was Sandy Koufax. And I'll tell you why he said that. He said, I've never been to, I could say it like Peter said it. He said, I've never been to a baseball game, but I I would say Sandy Koufax was my role model because he had the courage to tell his team that he would not play on the Shabbos, he said.
It's Yom Kippur. It's not the Shabbos, but Yom
Oh, I
Kippur
know.
is
Yeah, I relate to that too. But he did. Well, Peter said the Shabbos. That was his
right. The
choice of
Shabbos.
words.
Okay, close
But
enough.
I thought that
Close.
was quite interesting as a role model.
Oh, that is interesting. That is. And
Yeah.
so talking about somebody never. I'll tell you an interesting thing. Um, I gave an award. I was head of a whole section. The drama desk years ago gave a lifetime achievement award to James Earl Jones, and they had different sections. They had his Shakespeare section, and they had Great White Hope and all that. And then I introduced all these people who were doing the monologues from all the baseball movies they had done, and not just Field of Dreams. There were a few others too, but I was talking to him and Field of Dreams, and he gives that speech, right? Do you know that till after he made that movie, he had never been to a baseball game?
Wow.
Really?
That's pretty interesting.
Wow.
And he told his son, I think afterwards let's go. And he did go after that, but he had never, when he did that speech that everybody thinks is a classic and is a classic and unbelievable, he had never been to a ball game.
Well, what do you say, Don? Do we have any? I mean, should we wrap
No,
this
but
up?
I think I don't know that we need to go any further with anybody. I mean, this was a home run. Just sorry about the baseball.
Yeah.
No, I'm so happy that we got you to come on. Thank God Dave Sims has been a friend for years. That's
Well,
all I
in
could
the
say.
morning, we're heading down tomorrow morning. I'll see him in the morning.
Oh, I know you are. Yeah.
New York.
All right. Well, Susan, thank you so much. We appreciate you being on, and just thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you for asking me. I really enjoyed this. Thank you, and nice to meet you both.